This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'd like to be joined by trainer Ben Davison here in Newcastle. Ben, been a while since I've seen you. How are you?
I'm all good, thanks, mate. You?
I'm good, thank you for asking. Let's start with why you're here. Mark Dickinson, a Birtley boy, another Birtley gem coming through. Pro debut, Newcastle in front of thousands of fans. It doesn't get much better, does it?
No, for sure. And I know every coach says this about their fighters, but I believe that this is the start of a promising career.
In terms of Mark, how long have you two been sort of working together now before this decision to go pro?
Probably about 8 months now, 9 months. I think he first come over roughly about November, December time last year. Been up full time since the start of February, so yeah.
What excites you most about him?
His capacity and his rate of learning is the highest of anybody I've ever worked with, and that goes to say something considering the level of fighters I've worked with. So just an example of that is he'll finish his session where he's learning and focuses on him, but he'll also then stay and watch the likes of Josh Taylor, the likes of Lee Wood, the likes of Lee McGregor, and watch those sessions. So even when it's not his session, he's still looking to pick up information and develop and improve, and it's certainly paid dividends.
It's alright being around these top class fighters, but the fact he's immersing himself and he's trying to learn from them as well, not just doing his sessions and going home, how much will that benefit him down the line, trying to absorb as much as he can now?
It's already benefited him so much. Like I say, out of anybody that I've ever worked with, his rate of learning is the highest, and that will show. Maybe not tomorrow. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of change of opponents. We had a couple of ideal opponents. We even looked at guys with 11 wins, 2 losses, 11 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, one of them. And unfortunately, someone of Mark's amateur pedigree, you don't really want to be boxing a typical journeyman. It is what it is, but so probably not going to be able to take too much from it. However, it's it's getting the first one out of the way.
In terms of moving forward, is activity key for him now? Like, how often do you want him to be out after this debut's out of the way?
Yeah, it's great. I watched an old Canelo fight when he was about 19, 20, 21, something like that. I think he was about 20 actually. And they were saying that while his record was down at the time of maybe 30 odd wins, he believed it should have been 44. There's, 44 fights by pro fights. I know he turned pro at 15, but by the age in 5 years or so, that activity, it pays dividends. But it's about having the right fights at the right time. You want those fights where you can practice and develop, and you want to be given the opportunity to do that. But then I also believe that Mark can be moved quickly as well. So in between those fights, you want tests. You want to make sure that the improvements are being made, and that it's not just smoke being blown up his arse by blowing away bin men. So you want fights that the fighter can be comfortable, practice, develop. Then you want fights that questions are going to be asked of. So that's all a key part of managing, and he's got great management behind him with MTK and that. So yeah, really looking forward to the career.
Busy times for your stable. Let's talk about Josh Taylor. Obviously got that date coming up with Jack Catterall. How is Josh?
Yeah, he's all good. Working away. He's in the gym at the minute. So yeah, just cracking away.
Seen him and Taylor-Prograis were sort of reigniting their feud yesterday. Regis again suggesting that he was lucky to get that decision. Josh didn't take too kindly to that. Do you think that's a closed book as far as Josh is concerned?
Well, I think for now it is. I don't think there's anyone that really calls for that fight. But Prograis v Ramirez is a great fight. I'd love to see that fight. The winner may put themselves in position where the fans start calling for another fight with Josh. But at the minute, sights are set on Jack Catterall, and we certainly won't be overlooking him.
One other person I want to ask you about, I appreciate he's got that date in front of him, but we had Teofimo Lopez on recently. He's very keen on a fight with Josh. He sent Josh Taylor a message. Do you think that's a fight that we can realistically see next year, all being well with Josh's next date?
Potentially. The problem is that Josh wants to be going up in the world. Teofimo Lopez hasn't... this isn't taking anything away from his win against Lomachenko, but there's people that... If you look at what Josh has done to cement himself, there is no dispute. Nobody can argue that Josh is the number one 140-pounder. Whereas there is dispute that Teofimo Lopez is the number 135-pounder. So Devin Haney is a WBC champion. In that mix, you've got Ryan Garcia. People really do call for the Lomachenko rematch. And there's that little bit of doubt, that people really... He needs to cement himself first for that fight to be the one that Josh is looking for. However, Josh is looking more at a Terence Crawford, someone who was undisputed, no arguments against that, and arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet.
If that fight does become available to Josh, do you think the Jack Catterall fight could well be his last at 140 if that big fight does become available?
Potentially, yeah, of course, potentially, but then again, it may not be. So, but as I say, focus is on Jack Catterall on 140 pounds at the minute.
Let's talk about Lee McGregor. I was just speaking to you off camera about it. We ran a piece on Boxing Social a couple of days ago. He's got very exciting options in front of him. The Cash Farouk rematch is on the table, but also he's got an IBF final eliminator in front of him as well against Maloney. What does your gut instinct tell you about which way Lee's going to go here?
I don't really know. I think it depends on the financial situation. And the timing of the fights. So we'll have to see. I'd love to see the Cash Farouk and Lee McGregor fight be for a world title, if I'm honest. I really do. I'm hoping that eventually Inoue clears up, or one of them clears up and moves on. And one of them or both of them capture a world title and can make a massive fight. They fought at domestic level. You don't want to fight at domestic level again. So you might as well fight for world honours if it means waiting a couple more fights, 2 or 3 more fights. However, if the fight comes around, it's a fight that we're up for and a fight that I know Cash Farouk could be up for. So we just have to see how it plays out, but that's down to the management.
I've known Lee since just before he was turning professional, and even then, when he was getting ready for his debut, he was going through BoxRec and pointing at names for going, I'd fight him, I'll fight anybody. He said that the whole way through, and he's one of these fighters that genuinely does mean it. If it is up for that Cash Farouk rematch, even though, as you say, it doesn't necessarily need to happen now, how big a fight is that for Scotland with these two big ticket sellers?
Oh, it's a brilliant fight, and it was a brilliant fight last time, so that's what I mean, you know. Not to say that it'd be a shame if there was to fight again at domestic level, but I just think that the fight is capable of being made at world level. So I would love to see that for both guys, and financially for both guys. However, like I say, we'll have to see how it plays out, and that's down to the management and MTK.
On the Leewood, there's been talk of the fight with Conlon. Where are we at with Leewood?
Yeah, Leewood had an operation yesterday. He had an operation on his shoulder yesterday, so he'll be out until probably March, I think. February, March. So he's just recovering there. So I suppose Conlon will probably have a fight end of the year, and then I suppose they'll probably be fighting early part of next year. Don't know what the situation is with the Kanzu rematch. But again, like I say, down to the management and the advisors, and you know, eventually it'll all work itself out. But Lee's just recovering at the minute. Like I say, had his operation yesterday, so yeah, he's just focused on rehabbing that at the moment.
Ben, last topic before I let you go. Brilliant fight out in Las Vegas at the weekend. Tyson Fury, somebody you know better than anybody, climbing off the deck twice. An absolute classic with Deontay Wilder. What was going through your head watching that fight?
Straight away, I thought Deontay Wilder come out with intent, but very obvious intent. Jab to the body, jab to the body, jab to the body, jab to the body. We all knew what he was looking for after the jab to the body. So, but Tyson, I don't think it was Tyson's best performance. I don't think it was Wilder's best performance in terms of their skill set. However, in terms of grit, determination, will, desire, courage, it was from both guys one of the best performances you'll ever see from anybody. And I put a tweet out after about hoping that, you know, eventually they've been fantastic business partners for each other, made each other millions of pounds. I remember right at the beginning when the fight was being talked about and the fight potentially being made, that other people was trying to, you know, maybe put some offers in or stop them from boxing each other. And you know, they both gave each other their word that they wouldn't go any other way and would do business together. And they've done that, and they've made each other global superstars, mega superstars. I know that it's, for Deontay Wilder, it'd be a bitter pill to swallow. But like I said, I just hope that in time the respect can be mutual and they can see how much they've done for each other, because they've cemented each other's legacies as gladiators and complete warriors, and people will always remember that.
Is it something you reflected on, the fact that when Tyson first came back in, you started this journey together, you were together for the first fight, and now you're seeing him, hard to dispute that he's the top heavyweight in the world. Have you had time to reflect and think about that journey that you've watched him go on?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, when we first started, it was like there was times when I thought I'm not 100% sure that this is possible. To be honest with you, I think that it might not be possible. But I just thought, if I can make this man back happy again, I would have done a good job. And the comeback, the ups, the downs, the good moods, the bad moods, the on the verge of making bad decisions but having to talk him round, the trust, all of these kind of things, the belief, the investment that he made in himself, in getting a full team around him, and to put the belief in me to be the person to help him do that. All of these kind of things is something that I'll always remember and always be grateful for. And I'm sure that he'll always be grateful for the work that I've done. Going into the first fight, you know, it was a fight that I didn't want to take at that time. The agreement that me and him had was that he was going to have 4 comeback fights, but I knew that he had the capabilities of winning, but I knew that percentage-wise he was narrowing the gap taking it that soon. But I just knew that fight week that he was going to pull something special out, you know. Everybody thought he was going to get blown away. And, you know, the performance that he put in, his skill set was phenomenal. Physically, he wasn't there. As I said, we all knew that. That's why people thought he was getting blown away. But in terms of his skill set and the ability that he showed in that fight and the courage that he showed in that fight, knowing that he physically wasn't all there, that Tyson, his performance there, his skill set there with an able body blows the division away. As he then showed, then he had the Tom Schwartz fight, managed to do the deal with ESPN, turned him into a superstar, fantastic performance there. Then the dramatic fight with Otto Wallin, drained, and it's all part of the ups and downs and the emotions that were shown. I'm saying this as I'm thinking about it, that's why I'm reeling these off. But you know, to have boxed, I think, 5 times on top of 10 stone weight loss as a heavyweight, that's a lot for the body to take its toll. And I knew going into the Wallin fight that he was very, very drained. But again, he showed fantastic grit, determination, courage, character with the 2 big cuts. He done the WWE thing, and then, as I said before, the skill set that he showed in the first fight with an able body, he done that and more in the second fight. Brilliant performance. And then unfortunately had a long time out of the ring, and you know, I'm sure that played a part in as I say, the skill set, but then to go and show what he did, like I say, in terms of spirit, that was from both guys, was one of the best performances you'll ever see from anybody at any weight, from both guys.
Final question on that. We're waiting to see what will happen with the other belts with Usyk and Joshua now. It looks like Tyson might be able to face Dillian White, all being well with Dillian White against Otto Wallin. Which heavyweight on the planet, now Deontay Wilder's away, can give Tyson the hardest night?
Do you know what it is? It's very rare to see a heavyweight go through his career unbeaten, because anybody's capable of beating anybody on a given day. So, you know, in the heavyweights, the margin for error is slim. And, you know, he's 2 fights away from potentially being unbeaten, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world and retiring. It would be hard to argue against him being the greatest heavyweight of all times if he does that. But like I say, you know, on certain days anybody can beat anybody, so he has to remain on it, be on the ball, and he just needs to rest and recover after that fight.
Ben Davison, thank you as always, speaking to Boxing Social.
That goes for Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk as well. And Alexander Usyk won that first fight. Anthony Joshua gets it right. He's capable of beating Alexander Usyk as well.
Ben, thank you for making time for us. I'm sure I'll catch you very soon.